Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the head boys basketball coach at Mason High School. That, of course, is Lee Chaney. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing well. So let's talk about how the season's kind of going so far for you guys.
It's been pretty good. We're 5-1 right now, 2-0 in the league. The downside is we got hit really hard with the sickness bug when we started the year, and some guys hurt coming out of football, and so we really haven't had our whole team until right before, well, actually during break when we started our tournament last 2 weeks ago. We just got done with the practice here today, and I still got a kid out sick. So we've been fighting that. We're still fighting it, but we're probably as healthy as we've been since the beginning of the year started. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some of the guys that are. Let's talk about some of the guys that are returning, and also some of the guys to watch out for your team this year.
So we were really young last year. We had 2 freshmen up and 4 sophomores up last year, and so we have actually got a lot of guys back. In terms of probably our leaders from last year, Luke Marlin's a 3-year varsity player. He's been up and starting with us since his freshman year. Caleb Parrish is another all-league kid that we had back from last year. He's a junior, as well as Luke. Both of those guys were first-team all-league last year as sophomores. We then have a couple of seniors back from last year. Austin Stone is about 6'7" center. He's improved a lot from last year. And then Colin Page is also back. He's a kid that comes off the bench for us. And then also our young guys from last year, Kason Carswell, who was our quarterback on the football team, is a sophomore. We brought him up after about 5 games last year on the JV. So he played about 3/4 of the year with us. And then I've got Levi Stambaugh, also a sophomore, led us in 3-pointers last year. He's back in our starting lineup, as well as Tyler Baker and Nick Wells, who are also both juniors this year that were with us last year as sophomores. So the nice thing about this group, knowing coming into the season, is we have a lot of guys coming back, which makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't lose that many guys in the next few years, but so lots of experience coming back for sure throughout that. But kind of talk about where the division that you're in. Of course, the CAAC Reds about to kick off play, I think, beginning on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I know they've already had a couple of games in before the year started, but the outlook for the division this year, it's going to be pretty good once again.
Well, the division has been so good the last few years that at some point we finally had to graduate some kids. So, the nice thing for us is this is a year where we've got a lot of kids back, where a lot of the teams in the red don't. Hazlitt's been so good for so long. They've lost a lot of really good kids over the last 2 or 3 years. Williamston, obviously, with their team last year, graduating a lot of their kids. Fowlerville's been really good the last few years. They've finally graduated a lot of their kids. So we're finally in a position where we're the experienced team, and a lot of the other teams are now bringing in younger kids that are a little bit green, got some talent, but got to figure some things out. So we're in a good position that way. But the Reds never easy. You've got to show up every night and play. There's too many good teams in this conference, and so we know that. And that's probably the biggest challenge that we have this year, is trying to convince our kids that we got to show up and play every night, because any night we can get beat by any of these teams.
For sure. So where do you, and speaking of that, where do you think your team is at right now at 5-1 heading into the new year?
I like where we're at. We had a tournament here over our Christmas break, and we played really well. We beat Pinckney, and then we turned around the next night and played Kalamazoo Norks, who I think is a very good team, and really played about as well as we could in terms of offense, and beat them by 35, which I certainly didn't expect that. You try not to peak too early. You try to keep these guys humble and understand that, there's a long season ahead. And even going back and watching that game film of the Lloyd Norks, there are a lot of things that we got to do better. And, as teenagers, it's hard to pick up on that and understand what the coaches are talking about, because when you win by 35, you naturally think, hey, we did everything right. Well, like I said, we're playing a lot of good teams ahead of us. I like where we're at. Like I said, when we finally get healthy and have everybody ready to roll, which I think we're close to, I think we're going to be a hard team to beat. And if we play well on a given night, then the other team's got to play their A+ game to beat us. So I feel good about us. It's playing the game and staying home.
Yeah. So kind of talk about just then these next few games, kind of preview what's coming for you guys.
We play Marshall tomorrow. I know they had a really nice team last year. Now, we haven't played them. This is my 18th year as a varsity coach. We've never played them, I know, in the last 20 years. So this will be a new experience for us. I know they had a really good team last year. We've scrimmaged them in the past. They've been pretty good. They're young. They graduated quite a few guys. They got some pieces back, but watching them, you could tell there's some talent there. But again, they're inexperienced. They look a little green, but they'll come at us. They'll play hard. They'll pressure us. Again, we're going to have to play well to win, but we're home. Then Friday we play St. John's. They're one of the teams that does have quite a bit back from last year. And I like what they run offensively. They run a lot of 5 out and movement and dribble drive and kick. And I'm telling you, if they're shooting the ball well, which they've got a handful of guys that can shoot, they're going to be hard to guard. And that game worries me a little bit, just because of the fact of I know what they can do. And if they're doing it, they're going to be tough to guard. So, like I said, not a lot of easy stuff coming up. And then we got DeWitt after that, that's going to be a tough game on the road on a Tuesday night. So, we got good teams coming up. And like I said, we better be ready to play, because any one of them can knock us off in a given night.
Yeah. And I got the chance to see DeWitt last weekend. So one of the solid team, and Bill Flannery's always got a solid team with him. So,
yeah.
So going in, these next few games, where do you think you want to, what's kind of like, what do you want to see out of your team in these next few games heading into the Tuesday, Friday? We're in probably where you have games Tuesday, Friday, probably for 2 straight months.
Yeah, we've got to do a better job of rebounding consistently. I still don't like where we're at defensively. There are times I think we're way too soft, and I might be splitting hairs on that. But if we're going to accomplish some of the goals that we want to accomplish this year, we have to be better defensively, and we have to be better rebounding the basketball defensively. When we do that, we're pretty good. And that's the one thing that happened with Lloyd Norix, is that was probably our best defensive rebounding game. And it led to some transition. It led to some easy baskets for us. If we don't do that, we're just an average team. And the one game that we lost, we were bad off the dribble defensively, and we were terrible rebounding the ball defensively. And it costs us. And like I said, with some of the teams that we've got coming up, you give them 2 and 3 possessions every time down the court, or a lot of times down the court, you're going to get burned by that. And so we've got to be more consistently there. The other thing that I want guys to understand is we're not going to be great offensively every night. We can be great defensively every night, but any coach will tell you, you're not going to have a night every single night where you're shooting 50% from the floor. Defensively, you have to be good. And I think we've been very inconsistent. And I still don't think that it means enough to us that when we get beat and give up a basket, or we give up a second opportunity, that it doesn't bother us enough. And that's the level of competitiveness that we've got to get to. If we're going to win a league, if we're going to win a district, we've got to make sure that this is something that's consistent with us night in and night out on Tuesday, Friday nights. And it's not something that we should have to stress every practice or before every game. And so in terms of what I want to see out of us moving forward are probably those 2 things.
All right. Well, Lee Chaney, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck in the next few games for you guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Have a great New Year.